Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Caffe Lena. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for joining us on the live stream. We are celebrating a birthday tonight. I believe it's the 93rd birthday, Mr. Tom Lehrer. Yeah, all right. So no matter what Tom says, we're celebrating his birthday tonight. And with us to do that is Byron Nilsson and Malcolm Kogut on the piano. And they're going to be taking you through some of Tom's work and explaining a little bit of the background behind his writing, behind some of his songs. So we'll learn a little bit more about the man and hear his music tonight. It'll be a nice celebration. And it's good to have people in the room for it. It's going to feel more like a celebration. We can actually hear the clapping. We can actually share some stuff face to face. So it feels really good to have you here. For those of you out there in the internet world, we are just as grateful to have you here with us. We still can't sell out the room, and so we're depending just as much on the support that our online live stream community has continued to give us. For the last year, it's been the way that we've been able to keep doing these live streams and continue sharing music from our stage and supporting the musicians that make it. So if you're out there, please visit our virtual tip jar. It's caffelena.org/tips. And it gets split between our performers tonight and the venue, and it really goes a long way for both of us. So thank you for being here. Say hello in the chat. Let us know how you're doing, and have a wonderful night with Byron Nilsson to celebrate the birthday of Tom Lehrer.
Spring is here, a spring is here. Life is Skittles and life is beer. I think the loveliest time of the year is the spring. I do, don't you? Of course you do. But there's one thing that makes spring complete for me, and makes every Sunday a treat for me. Oh, the world seems in tune on a spring afternoon as we poison the pigeons in the park. Every Sunday you'll see my sweetheart and me as we poison the pigeons in the park. When they see us coming, the birdies all try and hide, but they still go for peanuts when coated with cyanide. The sun's shining bright, everything seems all right as we poison the pigeons in the park. We've gained notoriety and caused much anxiety in the Audubon Society with our games. They call it impiety and lack of propriety and quite a variety of unpleasant names. But it's not against any religion to want to dispose of a pigeon. So if Sunday you're free, why don't you come with me and we'll poison the pigeons in the park? And maybe we'll do in a squirrel or two as we poison the pigeons in the park. We'll murder them all amid laughter and merriment, except for the few we take home to experiment. My heart will be quickening with each drop of strychnine we feed to a pigeon. It just takes a smidgen to poison a pigeon in the park. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to our birthday celebration for Tom Lehrer, who, as Reeves pointed out, turns 93 today. I'm Byron Nilsson. At the keyboard is Malcolm Kogut, my otherwise silent partner, trying to think of how best to celebrate the songwriter turned math teacher's natal day, we realize that the last thing that the famously grumpy Mr. Lehrer probably wants is to hear still more performances of his songs. So Malcolm baked a cake, one with room for 93 candles, and test lighted it. Have a look. Malcolm is now renting a room in my house until they're able to rebuild. So we're going to stick with the songs. That was one of his signature numbers, reflecting what seems to be a gleeful mean-spiritedness. Look closer, however, and you find the satire behind it. It turns out that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service went around feeding strychnine-laced corn to the pigeons in Boston's parks during the 1950s. So Lehrer responded with tribute-laced scorn. And you'll be hearing more of that genre tonight. We're delighted to be back at Caffe Lena, and the fact that a cabaret show like this one is here is a testament to the variety of programming that's offered. But we want to salute its reputation as a folk music incubator with one of the very few folk songs that Tom Lehrer came up with. And this should guarantee that we don't get invited back. As he noted, it has a modal tune, simple storyline, and inane refrain, but it differs from other ancient ballads in that it was written in 1950, and I'm going to further accentuate its cultural appropriation by using a phony Irish accent. About a maid I'll sing a song, sing rickety tickety tin. About a maid I'll sing a song who did not have her family long. Not only did she do them wrong, but she did every one of them in. She did every one of them in. One morning in a fit of pique, sing rickety-tickety-tin. One morning in a fit of pique, she drowned her father in the creek. The water tasted bad for a week, and we had to make do with gin. With gin, we had to make do with gin. Her mother she could never stand, sing rickety-tickety-tin. Her mother she could never stand, and so a cyanide soup she planned. Her mother died with a spoon in her hand, and her face in a hideous grin, a grin. Her face in a hideous grin. She set her sister's hair on fire, sing rickety-tickety-tin. She set her sister's hair on fire, and as the smoke and flame rose higher, she danced around the funeral pyre while playing a violin, while playing a violin. She weighted her brother down with stones, rickety-tickety-tin. She weighted her brother down with stones and sent him off to Davy Jones. All they ever found were some bones. This is my favorite line. And occasional pieces of skin, and occasional pieces of skin. One day when she had nothing to do, sing rickety-tickety-tin. One day when she had nothing to do, she cut her baby brother in two and served him up as an Irish stew and invited the neighbors in. Oh, begorra, come join us for this magnificent feast. And when at last the police came by, rickety-tickety-tin. And when at last the police came by, her little pranks she did not deny. To do so she would have had to lie. And lying, she knew, was a sin. A sin. And lying, she knew, was a sin. My tragic tale I won't prolong, sing rickety-tickety-tin. My tragic tale I won't prolong, and if you did not enjoy my song, you've yourselves to blame if it is too long. You should never have let me begin. 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 Thank you. I see we're on a wavelength here. That's nice. Well, anyone writing good satirical songs in the 20th century learned from Gilbert and Sullivan, and Lehrer not only learned from them, he also rewrote some of their stuff. And, you know, there is a temptation among those who stage Pinafore and Pirates and the Mikado, well, probably not the Mikado so much. There's a temptation to rewrite lyrics to update them or make them more funny. Well, don't. You can't. That doesn't work. Although Lehrer has been able to do so. He rewrote a song from Princess Ida and actually made it a little more intelligible. But most famously, he rewrote the Major General song from Pirates of Penzance, and he set the periodic table of the elements to that number. The periodic table, by the way, turns 150, so he's got the jump on Lehrer. But you know that one already. So we're going back to Princess Ida, and this is another rewrite of his. This one is possibly semi-autobiographical. It's called The Professor's Song. If you give me your attention, I will tell you what I am. I'm a brilliant mathematician, also something of a ham. I've tried for numerous degrees. In fact, I've one of each. Of course, that makes me eminently qualified to teach. I understand the subject matter thoroughly, it's true, and I don't see why it isn't all as obvious to you. Each lecture is a masterpiece meticulously planned, yet everybody tells me that I'm hard to understand, and I can't think why. My diagrams are masterpieces of art, you must agree, and my handwriting is famous for its legibility. Now, take a word like minimum. To choose a random word, for anyone to say he cannot read, that is absurd. The anecdotes I tell get more amusing every year, though frankly what they go to prove is sometimes less than clear. And all my explanations are quite lucid, I am sure. Yet everybody tells me that my lectures are obscure, and I can't think why. For example, take differentiation, it's as simple as can be, like finding the derivative of tangent x. Let's see. It's tangent squared, no, secant squared, no, just secant, I'll bet. The sign in front is plus, or is it minus? I forget. Well, it does have a derivative, of that there is no doubt. All these formulas are trivial if you only think them out. Yet students tell me I have memorized the whole year through everything you've told us, yet the problems I can't do. And I can't think why. I can't think why. I can't think why. Thank you. Thank you. Aha. Well, we have a request for the elements. And who are we to deny you? The thing is, Lehrer actually set two different sets of lyrics to this one, and in our wish to give you the less heard, we're going to give you the Aristotelian version of the elements. There's earth and air and fire and water. That was mean, wasn't it? Don't agree. You know, we're just a month away from Mother's Day as of today. And you wriggled out of doing anything special last year, what with COVID swirling in the air. Well, it's still swirling, of course, especially on those spring break beaches. But you're going to be tempted to make up for last year. You are thinking you'd better obey the will of Mom, or there goes your shot at Mom's will. So let us help you to try to resist with this next number. From the Bible to the popular song, there's one theme that we find right along. Of all the ideals they hail as good, the most sublime is motherhood. There was a man, though, who it seems once carried this ideal to extremes. He loved his mother, and she loved him, and yet his story is rather grim. There once was a man named Oedipus Rex. You may have heard about his odd complex. His name appears in Freud's index 'cause he loved his mother. His rivals used to say quite a bit that as a monarch he was most unfit, but still and all they had to admit that he loved his mother. Yes, he loved his mother like no other. His daughter was his sister and his son was his brother. One thing on which you can depend is he sure knew who a boy's best friend is. When he saw what he had done, he tore his eyes out one by one. A tragic end for a loyal son who loved his mother. So be sweet and kind to mother. Now and then have a chat. Buy her candy or some flowers or a brand new hat. But maybe you had better let it go at that, or you may find yourself with a quite complex, and you may end up like Oedipus. I'd rather marry a duck-billed platypus than end up like old Oedipus Rex. Will that work? Well, Tom Lehrer was born in 1928. You worked that out already, I'm sure, in Manhattan. He describes his childhood as being unusually happy, so explain this. He began piano lessons when he was 7, but he preferred, he was getting the classical stuff. He preferred the popular repertory and became proficient in that realm, as you can tell. He described himself as a great fan of Märzi-Dotes. He skipped a couple of years of elementary school, which got him into Harvard at the age of 15. Of his academic aspirations, he said, "I was thinking of majoring in English, but that would have required reading far too many books, too few of which I might possibly enjoy." It was there he began writing the songs that we celebrate tonight, including several notable love songs. That's what you're here for. Written, as he put it, to convince people that even at the Harvard Graduate School, that hotbed of celibacy that I used to call home, we did have our moments. I hold your hand in mine, dear. I press it to my lips. I take a healthy bite from your dainty fingertips. My joy would be complete, dear, if you were only here. But still I keep your hand as a precious souvenir. The night you died, I cut it off. I really don't know why. For now, each time I kiss it, I get bloodstains on my tie. I'm sorry now I killed you, for our joy was something fine. And till they come to get me, I shall hold your hand in mine. That's so sweet. You know, whatever inspiration Mr. Lehrer derived from Märchendots obviously remains opaque. But what other songs proved influential? What other songwriters? We found one possible candidate. Like Lehrer, H.W. Heinemann liked to lampoon the styles of vintage songs. So this next song we're going to do hails from 1933, but harkens back to the 1890s. Heinemann, by the way, is best known as the writer of the movie Flying Down to Rio, if that's your idea of fame. A grandma with her grandchild sat by the kitchen door of a quaint old-fashioned house built long ago. The little lass grew restless as on the evening wore, for she felt that time was fleeting very slow. I must do something, cried the girl, and seized a nearby spade. But a passing stranger blocked her swing, while these wise words he said. Oh, never hit your grandma with a shovel. It makes a bad impression on her mind. In a better way impart all the love things in your heart, for it's possible she may retort in kind. Remember, Granny's known you since a baby, and even though in fun could prove a shock, so respect that aged head, stay the shovel, and instead paste your dear old sweet old grandma with a rock. Grandma. You know, she's been staring through the window ever since it started to rain. If it starts coming down any harder, I'm going to have to let her in. You know, grandmas are wonderful. Mine used to give her bus driver a bag of peanuts every day. You know, finally he said, Granny, this is very nice of you, but I want you to enjoy these yourself. And she said, you know, I no longer have any teeth, so I just suck off the chocolate and give them to you. Oh, never hit your grandma with a shovel. It makes a bad impression on her mind. In a better way impart all the love things in your heart, for it's possible she may retort in kind. Remember, Granny's known you since a baby, and even though in fun could prove a shock, so respect that aged head, stay the shovel, and instead paste your dear old sweet old grandma with a rock, a great big rock. What are you clapping for? That was awful. No, that's obviously, you've got the right spirit here. And it's going to be tested in the next song. One of the things that makes a funny song funny is a good, clever rhyme. But there are rules about that sort of thing, wouldn't you know it? To achieve a perfect rhyme, you have to have the sound of the final accented syllable of the first line agree with the final accented syllable of the second. That's the classic Moon-June rhyme. If the accented syllable is followed by more syllables, you get into the business of masculine and feminine rhymes, and rules for, well, I'll only come to grief if I try to unpack that for you now. But these are tools also used by Stephen Sondheim, about whom Lehrer said he is the greatest lyricist that the English language has ever produced, and that's a fact, not an opinion. Here's what Sondheim had to say about the issue. True rhyming helps the listener follow the message and meaning. Other rhymes and forms are harder on the brain. Perfect rhymes give pleasure. Consistent rhyme schemes pay off. Sounds almost painful. And in the hands of Lehrer, it can be so. I ache for the touch of your lips, dear, but much more for the touch of your whips, dear. You can raise welts like nobody else as we dance to the masochism tango. Let our love be a flame, not an ember. Say it's me that you want to dismember. Blacken my eyes, set fire to my tie as we dance to the masochism tango. At your command, before you here I stand. My heart is in my hand. Ugh. It's here that I must be. My heart entreats, just hear those savage beats, and go put on your cleats and come and trample me. Your heart's hard as stone or mahogany. That's why I'm in such exquisite agony. My soul is on fire, it's aflame with desire, which is why I perspire when we tango. You caught my nose in your left castanet, love. I can feel the pain yet, love, every time I hear drums. And I envy the rose that you held in your teeth, love, with the thorns underneath, love, sticking into your gums. Your eyes cast a spell that bewitches. The last time I needed 20 stitches to sew up the gash that you made with your lash as we dance to the masochism tango. Bash in my brain and make me scream with pain, then kick me once again and say we'll never part. I'm in your spell, I know only too well that, darling, if you smell something burning, it's my heart. Excuse me. Take your cigarette from its holder and burn your initials in my shoulder. Fracture my spine and say that you're mine as we dance to the masochism tango. Thank you. You'll get over it. Lehrer spent a few years as a touring performer, mostly, he said, as a way to figure out the timing of the songs for when he would put them on his recordings. But his concerts also included songs by others, including this next one. It's by Michael Flanders and Donald Swann, a British songwriting duo who contributed witty, topical numbers to a series of West End revues before they took to the stage themselves in a show called At the Drop of a Hat. And they covered such topics as buses, bathing, the animal kingdom, and even, in this case, a screwy view of horticulture. The fragrant honeysuckle spirals clockwise to the sun, and many other creepers do the same. But some climb anti-clockwise, the bindweed does for one, or convolvulus to give her proper name. Rooted on either side a door, one of each species grew, and raced towards the window ledge above. each corkscrew to the lintel in the only way it knew. Where they stopped, touched tendrils, smiled and fell in love. Said the right-handed honeysuckle to the left-handed bindweed, "Oh, let us get married if our parents don't mind. We'd be loving and inseparable, inextricably entwined. We'd live happily ever after," said the honeysuckle to the bindweed. To the honeysuckle's parents it came as a shock. The bindweeds, they cried, are inferior stock. They're uncultivated, of breeding bereft. They twine to the right, and we twine to the left. Said the anti-clockwise bindweed to the clockwise honeysuckle, "We'd better start saving many a mickle, max a muckle, then run away for a honeymoon and hope that our luck'll take a turn for the better," said the bindweed to the honeysuckle. A bee who was passing remarked to them then, "I've said it before and I'll say it again. Consider your offshoots, if offshoots there be. They'll never receive any blessing from me. Poor little sucker, how will it learn when it is climbing which way to turn? Right, left, what a disgrace, or it may go straight up and fall flat on its face." Said the right-hand thread honeysuckle to the left-hand thread bindweed, "It seems that against us all fate has combined. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling Columbine, thou art lost and gone forever, we shall never intertwine." Together they found them the very next day. They had pulled up their roots and just shriveled away, deprived of that freedom for which we must fight, to veer to the left or to veer to the right. Thank you. You know, Tom Lehrer contributed more than songs to the culture. He served for 2 years in the Army, beginning in 1955 when he was assigned to the cryptographic branch of the Defense Department, NSA. However, he notes the only thing he contributed to the war effort was the Jell-O shot. As he explained, we wanted to have a Christmas party, but the rules forbade all alcoholic beverages. So a friend and I decided to confront this challenge. We settled on vodka in orange Jell-O. It was a very nice party. And it's time for another love song. This is his love song of the physical anthropologist, which, as he wrote, was prompted by the observation that all love songs that actually describe any physical aspect of the beloved limit their compliments to such things as hair, eyes, lips, hands, etc. Physical anthropologists, on the other hand, have a whole arsenal of descriptive adjectives at their disposal. Let me tell you of the mammal that I love. She's lovely, she's charming, she's divine. That eptomorphic, hypsocranial, rufopilous, leptorinian, metriocephalic gal of mine. Oh, the touch is grand of her pentadactyl hand. She's my mesoprosopic Valentine. that uripelic, orthorhacchic, brachydontic, stenomeric, dolichocnemic leptosome of mine. Though you may wish this chordate instead of mine were your date, you haven't got a chance, it's plain to see. For nothing is more alien to this marvelous mammalian than affection shown to anyone but me. Oh, her eyes are blue, and they're oxybuleptic too. She's endothermic, and that suits me fine. That uripelic, orthorhacchic, brachydontic, stenomeric, dolichocnemic leptosome of mine. Oh, she's incredible. You know, as we grew more comfortable together, she asked if we could, well, she said, you know, we should masticate together. I'd love that, I told her, but we should start with finding a degustation station, and then that will be followed by intense deglutition until, well, you know what's next. Peristalsis kicks in, and that begins the journey through the pyloric sphincter, carrying us on our jejune way through the jejunum before we wind up at the natural climax of the journey, admiring the lovely islets of Langerhans. Though you may wish this chordate instead of mine were your date, you haven't got a chance, it's plain to see. For nothing is more alien to this marvelous mammalian than affection shown to anyone but me. Oh, her eyes are blue, and they're oxybuleptic too. She's endothermic, and that suits me fine. That uripelic, orthorhacchic, brachydontic, stenomeric, bathycopian, liodormatus, callipygian, platyhyeric, ectomorphic, rufipillis, leptorinian, metriocephalic, little gal of mine. Thank you. That's one of the lesser-known songs we found on the website of all of his published material, since Tom Lehrer put it all in the public domain. We've grown quite fond of that one, but you know, I had no idea what it really meant. So I looked up those terms, and you should find a gazetteer on a website I made. There should be, the address would be in the comments section of the live stream, and the lucky people here have programs that explain them all in a tiny 9-point type in darkness. So good luck. There's also a gazetteer for the next song, and this, well, you know, you can't write clever list songs like the last one without being a Cole Porter fan. And Tom Lehrer described his trip to the Broadway show Let's Face It in 1941 as a turning point in his cultural awareness. He was also a huge fan of Danny Kaye, who sang the following number in that show. Here's a bit of news that's quite a shocker, proving Mother Nature still has charm. Quoting Mr. Charlie Knickerbocker, get in the swim and buy a farm. Acres of alfalfa, fields of clover, suddenly enchant our top who's who. So the moment all this row is over, what say if we go hayseed too for farming? That's the passion, farming. That's the fashion of our great celebrities of today. Kit Cornell is shelling peas. Lady Mendel's climbing trees. Dear Mae West is at her best in the hay, singing while the rakin' bringin' home the bacon makes them feel more glamorous and more gay. They tell me cows when they're feeling milky all give cream when the milk by Wilkie. Farmin' is so charmin', they all say. Oh, farmin', that's the passion, farmin'. That's the fashion of our great celebrities of today. 5 o'clock the cock is crowing, though the frost is on the pumpkin. Back to sleep you can't be going if you want to be a bumpkin. It's so chic for look or peek to take your picture with your Guernsey in the wilds of old Connecticut or possibly New Jersey. Mussin' up the clover, fussin'. When it's over, makes them feel informal and dégagé. Hart and Kaufman in Bucks County pulled a farming killer diller when they planted in their cornfield all their clippings from Joe Miller. Farmin' is so charmin', they all say. Oh, farmin', that's the passion, farming. That's the fashion of the great celebrities of Bernard Shaw doing turkey in the straw. Don't inquire of Georgie Raft why his cow has never calved. Georgie's bull is beautiful, but he's gay. Racing like the Dickens chasing after chickens makes them wish that rooster would stay away. The natives think it's utterly utter when Margie Hart starts churning her butter. Farmin' is so charmin', they all say. Thank you. Again, those names are referenced on the website and the program. But you all know who Margie Hart is, right? Neither did I. You know, Tom Lehrer made it into the congressional record in 1966 when he was quoted during a hearing before a special subcommittee on air and water pollution of the Committee on Public Works before the United States Senate, 89th Congress, page 272. It's in your programs. It's on your screen for a moment. It's on that website. Don't try to read it now. But he is quoted. A few lines of the next song are quoted, even though the title is given completely incorrectly. This is a song inspired by the revelation that General Electric had been dumping toxic PCBs in the Hudson for many years. And I think if you care to go looking, you can still find some there. Here's his celebratory song. If you visit an American city, you will find it very pretty. Just two things of which you must beware. Don't drink the water and don't breathe the air. Pollution, pollution. We've got smog and sewage and mud. Turn on your tap and get hot and cold running crud. See the halibuts and the sturgeons being wiped out by detergents. Fish gotta swim and birds gotta fly. But they don't last long if they try. Pollution, pollution. You can use the latest toothpaste, then rinse your mouth with industrial waste. Just go out for a breath of air, and you'll be ready for Medicare. The city streets are really quite a thrill. If the hoods don't get you, the monoxide will. Pollution, pollution. Wear a gas mask and a veil. Then you can breathe long as you don't inhale. Lots of things there that you can drink, but stay away from the kitchen sink. The breakfast garbage you throw out in Troy, they drink at lunch in Perth Amboy. So go to the city, see the crazy people there, like lambs to the slaughter. They're drinking the water and breathing the air. Thank you. Having saved the environment, Lehrer turned next to saving humanity. When he was given the opportunity to write for a television audience, in 1970, Children's Television Workshop asked him to write songs for the Electric Company. And as he noted, it was the first time anybody had asked me to write songs other than the kinds of songs I'd already written. They were just meant to teach reading. So get out your chapbooks. Here's one of them. You're wearing your squeaky shoes, and right there taking a snooze is a tiger, so how do you walk on by? Silently, silently, silent, L-Y. You're a secret agent man who is after the secret plan, so how do you act so they don't know you're a spy? Normally, normal, L-Y. At an eating contest, you boast that you can eat the most. So how do you down your 50th piece of pie? Eagerly, eagerly, eager, L-Y. On the lake, your boat upset, and your clothes got soaking wet. So how do you stand and wait for them to dry? Patiently, patiently, patient, L-Y. In the public library, you fall and hurt your knee, but the sign says quiet please, so how can you cry? Quietly, quietly, quiet, L-Y. You're walking along the street when a porcupine you meet. So how do you shake his hand when he says hi? Carefully, carefully, careful, L-Y. You enter a very dark room, and sitting there in the gloom is Dracula. So how do you say goodbye? Immediately, immediately, immediate L-Y. Bye-bye. That was a favorite of my daughter while she was growing up, and she's great with adverbs these days. So after his success with the Electric Company, Lehrer was asked to write a theme song for another children's television workshop series. He rewrote the song That's Entertainment from the 1953 MGM movie The Bandwagon, but the TV show passed on it. The song didn't make its debut until 1993 as part of a mathematics festival. And at that time, the copyright owners of That's Entertainment decided he couldn't use the tune. So he wrote one of his own, No Royalties for You, MGM. Oh, that's all I get for this one. Thought there was a waterloggable intro. Counting sheep when you're trying to sleep, being fair, when there's something to share, being neat, when you're folding a sheet. That's mathematics. When a ball bounces off of a wall, when you cook from a recipe book, when you know how much money you owe. That's mathematics. How much gold can you hold in an elephant's ear? When it's noon on the moon, then what time is it here? If you could count for a year, would you get to infinity or somewhere in that vicinity? When you choose how much postage to use, when you know what's the chance it will snow, when you bet and you end up in debt. Try as you may, you just can't get away from mathematics. Tap your feet, keeping time to the beat of a song. While you're singing along, harmonize with the rest of the guys. Yes, try as you may, you just can't get away from mathematics. 2, 3, 4, ticks. Another one of Lehrer's songwriting heroes was Noel Coward. So here's a sample of Coward's work. This is a song that was inspired by what was for him a recent vacation on the island of Capri, as Coward explained it in 1955. Each evening, I used to sit on the piazza and watch these hordes of middle-aged ladies arriving by every boat, obviously all set to have themselves a ball. So startled was I by this rather macabre spectacle that I wrote this song about a respectable British matron who discovered in the nick of time that life was for living. I'll sing you a song, it's not very long, its moral may disconcert you, of a mother and wife who most of her life feigned the domestic virtue. She had 2 strapping daughters and a rather dull son, and a much duller husband who at 61 elected to retire and later on expire. Sing hallelujah, hey nanny no, hey nanny no, hey nanny no. He joined the feathered choir. Having laid him to rest by a special request in the family mausoleum, as his widow repaired to the home they had shared, her heart sang a gay Te Deum. And then in the midst of the funeral wake, while adding some liquor to the tipsy cake, she briskly cried, "That's done! My life's at last begun! Sing hallelujah, hey nanny no, hey nanny no, hey nanny no. It's time I had some fun. Today, though hardly a jolly day, at least has set me free. Let's all have a lovely holiday on the island of Capri. In a bar on the Piccola marina, life called to Mrs. Wentworth Brewster. Fate beckoned her and introduced her into a rather queer, unfamiliar atmosphere. She just sit there, propping up the bar beside a fisherman who sang to a guitar. When accused of having gone too far, she merely said, "Funiculi, just fancy me, funicula." When he bellowed, "Que bella signorina," sheer ecstasy at once produced a wild shriek from Mrs. Wentworth Brewster, changing her whole demeanor. When both her daughters and her son cried, "Please come home, Mama," she answered rather bibulously, "Who do you think you are? Nobody could afford to be so la-di-bloody-da in a bar on the Piccola marina." Every fisherman cried, "Viva, viva, and che ragazzo!" And she sat on the grand piazza. Everybody would rise. Every fisherman sighed, "Viva, viva, che bel inglese!" Someone even said, "Whoopsie-daisy," which was quite a surprise. Each evening, with some light excuse and beaming with goodwill, she'd just slip into something loose and totter down the hill to that bar on the Piccola marina where love came to Mrs. Wentworth Brewster. Hot flushes of delight suffused her. Right round the bend she went. Picture her astonishment. Day in, day out, she would get about because she felt she was no longer on the shelf. Night out, night in, knocking back the gin, she cried, "Hurrah, funiculi, funicula, finic yourself." Just for fun, 3 young sailors from Messina bowed low to Mrs. Wentworth Brewster, said, "Scusi," and abruptly goosed her. Then there was quite a scene. Her family in floods of tears cried, "Leave these men, Mama." She said, "Why? They're just high-spirited, like all Italians are. And most of them have a great deal more to offer than Papa in a bar on the Piccola marina." Thank you. You know, some of us have heroes. Some of us have heroes thrust upon us. Like all kids growing up in the 1960s, I was enraptured by NASA's space program, which was busy, as Lehrer put it, spending $20 billion of your tax dollars to put some clown on the moon. And we did that. And what do we have to show for it? An orange-flavored instant breakfast drink. But in order to get the Apollo program's Saturn booster off the ground, we exfiltrated the German Nazi scientist Werner von Braun. He, along with many other brilliant scientists, had been sent into combat, but when the Germans realized they were losing World War II, they started to reclaim those men. However, and I'm not making this up, someone left a list of those scientists in a toilet where it was found by an American service man or people who used it as the basis of Operation Paperclip, or Not All the Nazi Killers Will Have to Go to Nuremberg. So, Werner von Braun, proud designer of the V-2 missile with which London had been blitzed, came to work for us, even as we laughed at Hogan's heroes. That's a lot of guilt to lay on you, huh? Gather round while I sing you of Werner von Braun, a man whose allegiance is ruled by expedients. Call him a Nazi, he won't even frown. Nazi schmatzi, says Werner von Braun. Don't say that he's hypocritical. Say rather that he's apolitical. Once the rockets are up, who cares where they come down? That's not my department, says Werner von Braun. Some have harsh words for this man of renown, but some think our attitude should be one of gratitude, like the widows and cripples in old London town who owe their large pensions to Werner von Braun. You too can be a big hero once you learn to count backwards to 0. In German oder English, I know how to count down, and I'm learning Chinese, says Werner von Braun. It's very nostalgic, that one. You know, back then we had to import our Nazis, and now we grow them at home. Well, we're going to stay in Europe, or return to Europe, traveling next to Vienna, and celebrate a unifying cultural force of the early 20th century. In introducing the next song, Lehrer explained that he had recently come across the juiciest, spiciest, raciest obituary it has ever been my pleasure to read. It was that of a lady named Alma Mahler Gropius Werfel, who had managed in her lifetime to acquire as lovers practically all of the top creative men in Central Europe. The obit ran in the New York Times on December 12, 1964. Have a look. It reads, in part, she was a 21-year-old music student in 1902 when she met Mahler, who was 41 years old and director of the Court Opera House. He'd already made his mark in the music world, and he would go on to write, among other massive works, the Symphony of 1,000 and the song cycle Das Lied von der Erde, the Song of the Earth, which pretty much covers everything. Alma then married Walter Gropius, who was a founder of the influential Bauhaus School, and her last husband was Franz Werfel, whose novel The Song of Bernadette turned the French town of Lourdes into a tourist resort and gave Jennifer Jones, who starred in the 1943 film of it, a chance to regain her virginity. Looking at you, David Selznick. The loveliest girl in Vienna was Alma, the smartest as well. Once you picked her up on your antenna, you'd never be free of her spell. Her lovers were many and varied from the day she began her begin. There were 3 famous ones whom she married, and God knows how many between. Alma, tell us, all modern women are jealous. Which of your magical wands got you Gustav and Walter and Franz? The first one she married was Mahler, whose buddies all knew him as Gustav. And each time he'd see her, he'd holler, Ach, dat ist de Fräulein I must have. Their marriage, however, was murder. He'd scream to the heavens above, I'm writing das Lied von der Erde, und she only wants to make love. Alma, tell us, all modern women are jealous. You should have a statue in bronze for bagging Gustav and Walter and Franz. While married to Gus, she met Gropius, and soon she was swinging with Walter. Gus died, and her teardrops were copious. She cried all the way to the altar, but he would work late at the Bauhaus and only came home now and then. She said, what am I running, a chow house? It's time to change partners again. Alma, tell us, all modern women are jealous. Though you didn't even use pawns, you got Gustav and Walter and Franz. While married to Walt, she met Werfel, and he too was caught in her net. He married her, but he was careful, for Alma was no Bernadette. And that is the story of Alma, who knew how to receive and to give. The body that reached her embalmer was one that had known how to live. Alma, tell us, how can they help being jealous? Ducks always envy the swans who get Gustav and Walter. You never did falter with Gustav and Walter and Franz. Thank you. We're getting near the end, folks. You got a lot of culture there. That was just riddled with Mahler, that one. Tom Lehrer's message, as you've realized by now, is a message of love, of caring, of brotherhood, or as we now put it, multi-non-binary gender unspecific personhood. Well, when I was a boy, back in those Apollo mission days, we used to celebrate National Brotherhood Week, and here, I suspect, is what did it in. Oh, the white folks hate the black folks, and the black folks hate the white folks. To hate all but the right folks is an old established rule, but during National Brotherhood Week, AOC and Mitch McConnell are dancing cheek to cheek. It's fun to eulogize the people you despise, as long as you don't let them in your school. Oh, the poor folks hate the rich folks, and the rich folks hate the poor folks. All of my folks hate all your folks. It's American, it's apple pie. But during National Brotherhood Week, New Yorkers love the Puerto Ricans 'cause it's very chic. Step up and shake the hand of someone you can't stand. You can tolerate him if you try. Oh, the Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants, and the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everybody hates the Jews. But during National Brotherhood Week, it's national everyone smile at one another hood week. Be nice to people who are inferior to you. It's only for a week, so have no fear. Be grateful that it doesn't last all year. Thanks. Yeah, that worked. You know, the stupidest phrase I ever heard a grown man utter, well, pre-Trump, was George H.W. Bush's characterization of a budget problem as deep doo-doo. Now, you know, that's the kind of specificity only a truly tough Texan is going to come up with. Somewhat along the lines of him terming the financial shenanigans practiced by his former boss, Ronald Reagan, as voodoo economics. But you know, I think the elder Bush's approach to politics would play well today. At a press conference in 1988, he said, "I will never apologize for the United States of America. I don't care what the facts are." And after touring Auschwitz in 1992, he remarked, "Boy, they were big on crematoriums, weren't they?" Yeah. That was the same year when Tom Lehrer penned this next song, by which time Bush's budget cuts had left our school systems in a shambles. When the classroom's packed and the library's shut, and every year there's a budget cut, and the textbooks only keep on getting dumber, when standards seem to be on the skids, and it gets so even the kids have kids, and everyone can hardly wait till summer, then we're in deep doo-doo, deep, deep doo-doo. What can folks like me and you do when the doo-doo gets so deep and getting deeper? Well, when we can't compete with the Japanese or the Portuguese or the chimpanzees, and everybody seems to be playing by his own rules. You know, it ain't a question of when or whether. Any fool can put 2 and 2 together unless he took new math in one of our schools. And we're in deep doo-doo, deep, deep doo-doo. God knows there's plenty to do when the doo-doo gets so deep and getting deeper. When some schools feel like combat sectors with guns and gangs and metal detectors, remember when we felt guilty just playing hooky? Well, when the school is broke and homework's a joke and the kids do grass and booze and coke, we've come a long way from chocolate and milk and a cookie. And we're in deep doo-doo, deep, deep doo-doo. And it's gonna take more than voodoo, 'cause the doo-doo is so deep and getting deeper. Well, people keep giving me the same old pitch. If you're so smart, why ain't you rich? I've heard it all my life and I know it by heart. And to tell you the truth, I wish I knew. But America, I'm asking you, if you're so rich, why ain't you smart? Yes, we're in deep doo-doo, deep, deep doo-doo. So ask yourself, what can you do when the doo-doo gets so deep? It's time to look and time to leap. There's promises we have to keep. But as you sow, so shall you reap. But whatever it takes, it won't be cheap. 'Cause the doo-doo is so deep. You know who sang that? Who premiered that? Keith Carradine. So, haven't been able to find any video of that. So why have Tom Lehrer's songs endured? Well, as he put it, one reason might be that there's a vestigial desire for literacy in certain quarters, and I pride myself on being literate to the point of pretentiousness. Well, it can be a lonely pursuit, so I thank you very much for staying with us. Malcolm and I would like to finish now by offering you a chance at spiritual redemption. And this comes by way of Lehrer's response to the Second Vatican Council, which ran, you're ahead of me here, aren't you? It ran from 1962 to 65 and sought to open the Catholic Church to the modern world. Lehrer himself has always stayed neutral on religious matters. He says, there are obviously many people who prefer one brand of bullshit to another, but I am not among them. Nevertheless, he generously offered one answer to the question of making the liturgy more accessible, modernize the music. Here's the Vatican rag. First you get down on your knees, fiddle with your rosaries, bow your head with great respect and genuflect, genuflect, genuflect. Do whatever steps you want if you have cleared them with the pontiff. Everybody say his own Kyrie eleison, doing the Vatican rag. Get in line in that processional, step into that small confessional. They're the guy that's got religion'll tell you if your sin's original. If it is, try playing it safer. Drink the wine and chew the wafer. 2, 4, 6, 8. Time to transubstantiate. So get down upon your knees, fiddle with your rosaries, bow your head with great respect and genuflect, genuflect, genuflect. Make a cross on your abdomen. When in Rome, do like a Roman. Ave Maria, gee, it's good to see ya. Getting ecstatic and sort of dramatic and doing that Vatican rag. Thank you. Sit down. Oh, we're not going to leave you yet. We've got. You're very kind, but we promised to get out of here. But we have a pandemic song for you. Tom Lehrer, as he did with so many things, foresaw this one as well. I love my friends, and they love me. We're just as close as we can be. And just because we really care, whatever we get, we share. I got it from Agnes, she got it from Jim. We all agree it must have been Louise who gave it to him. Now she got it from Harry, who got it from Marie. And everybody knows that Marie got it from me. Knock, knock. Nobody, we're still isolating, remember? You know, I had a terrible headache last week, so I went to the doctor. He said, you're singing those awful Tom Lehrer songs, aren't you? You're sick in the head. You need brain surgery. I said, no, I don't. He said, yes, you do. He said, you're getting brain surgery. You know what? He changed my mind. My doctor, he asked if anybody else in my family is suffering from mental health issues. I said, no. They're all enjoying it. Giles got it from Daphne, she got it from Joan, who picked it up in County Cork, a kiss in the Blarney Stone. Pierre gave it to Sheila, who must have brought it there. Now he got it from Francois and Jacques. Ha-ha! Lucky Pierre. Knock, knock. Deja. Knock, knock. Deja. Hey, be grateful for that one. I could tell you a coronavirus joke right now, but we'd have to wait 2 weeks to see if you get it. Now Max got it from Edith, who gets it every spring. She got it from her daddy, who just gives her everything. She then gave it to Daniel, whose spaniel has it now. Our dentist even got it, and we're still wondering how. You know what dentists call the x-rays they take? Toothpicks. I went to see my dentist the other day. He said, you know, you've got the biggest cavity I've ever seen. The biggest cavity I've ever seen. I said, you don't have to tell me twice. He said, I didn't. That was the echo. Knock, knock. Dishes. Dishes, how I've been talking since I went to the dentist. But I got it from Agnes, or maybe it was Sue, or Billy, or Willie, or Millie, or Jilly. It doesn't matter who. It might have been at the club, or in the pub, or in the loo. And if you will be my friend, then I might. Mind you, I said might. Give it to you. I'm Byron Nilsson, that's Malcolm Kogut. Thank you so much, and we don't know any more songs, so that's it.